Welcome to Discovering 615, the podcast celebrating the people, places, and stories that make Middle Tennessee amazing. From local business owners and entrepreneurs to musicians, creators, and community leaders across the Nashville and Middle Tennessee area, we're shining a light on the heartbeat of our community. And now here's your host, Rob Thacker.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Discovering 615. I'm your host, Rob Thacker, and I'm joined today with my good friend, Jim Morris, gifted speaker, entrepreneur, and author of the newly released Amazon bestseller, Connect or Die: How to Survive AI. Jim, welcome to the podcast, brother.
Rob, thanks for having me, man. I'm excited to chop it up with you today, brother.
Let's do it. So, hey, Jim, tell us a little bit about your background, how you got to Nashville, because I know for a fact, because you and I've talked, I know your native accent is not Nashvilleian.
I'm originally from Boston, Massachusetts, and I was looking for a new opportunity. Put my application out online when I was in the corporate world, and someone flew down to Boston the next day, interviewed me, gave me a job on the spot, and I said, "All right, I'm coming to Nashville." That was 8 years ago, and I got here, worked for that company, wasn't the right fit, fell in love with Nashville. And decided, you know what? I'm going to give it a go. I'm going to start a business. I'm going to do this entrepreneurial thing. And 7 businesses later, here we are.
All right, that's cool. That's great. So you got brought down to Nashville and you got the entrepreneur. What are some areas that you've worked in terms of, you said 7 businesses? What are some of those areas?
Well, the first company I worked for, I was all over Nashville. So it was a great opportunity to not only see downtown, but go to Midtown, all the way up to Gallatin, down through Franklin and Columbia. It was really cool to see the city side and then the rural side, and that's what I fell in love with, is it's so close.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's great. That's awesome. So let's go ahead and dive into some stuff here, because you are also a speaker. You've spoken on several TED Talks, correct?
Yep. I did one TED Talk at Old Hickory.
Okay.
Keeping it Tennessee, baby.
There you go.
But I've spoken all over the state, different states, East Coast, West Coast. But I wanted to do a TED Talk local here in Nashville area or surrounding, so to say.
Great. So, and now you are an author of a fantastic book. By the way, folks, if you haven't picked up a copy of Connect or Die: How to Survive AI by Jim Morris, you need to do it. I mean, I was talking to my son Douglas about it. He is a sports management guy. I said, Douglas, this is a book you need to read, because with what you want to do in life, you need to learn to connect with people. So tell us the premise for that, Jim, how that got started, where that was, began to be born for you and things of that nature, and how it developed.
About 3.5 years ago, I started just writing a little bit here and there on like computer paper, white papers, right? And started to realize, okay, out of all the things I've done from age 14 up to now, it's always been someone, not something, that has given me an opportunity, has pulled me out of the dark. It's been relationships and introductions and opportunities, right? Some of the craziest things I've done, where I've set a goal, or I've, penciled in this big dream I had. I've accomplished those things because of a relationship and a connection. And what I realized was, it's not like, oh, I want to go do a TED Talk. Let me go build a relationship with someone who can get me a TED Talk, right?
Right.
It's not, oh, I want to write a book. Let me go build a relationship with someone who can help me write a book. It's been the consistent approach of building deep relationships with people, and then realizing, okay, I already have a great network. Who can help me or make an introduction, when I started to build out some of these dreams? And in a lot of those scenarios and situations, I've had a relationship where someone's approached me and said, hey, you should really do this thing. Why haven't you done a TED Talk? Why haven't you written a book? So with the book specifically, I started to think back of the most important thing, and I did a timeline of my life, right? And everything that was tough to navigate through to the things where I celebrated included a connection or a relationship with someone. So looking back at all the big dreams I had, looking back at all the failures, looking back at the accomplishments, there was always this through line of a connection.
Mm-hmm.
And then looking at some of the biggest accomplishments I've had and real feeling this level of loneliness or not really feeling the gratitude for some of these accomplishments were in periods of time where I didn't have a confidant to share that with, or I just had a bunch of acquaintances and I couldn't celebrate the good things with the people I wanted to because I didn't have people close to me in my life at those points. So as I went through this journey and started to realize all these strategies and these lessons and how I build connection, I went to some close friends and I said, "Hey, well, I really want to focus on one keynote on stage. I did this
Mm.
timeline of my life. I'm thinking about human connection. I'm thinking about the rise of AI. I'm thinking about the
Mhm.
timeliness of automation and technology and the growth. I want to talk about human connection. Here's my frameworks." And everybody that I went to was like, "Duh, Jim. Like you're
Yeah.
great at
Yeah.
this. You you
Yeah.
you you can fill an event and from a couple social media posts, you can invite people into something they want or they need. And I never feel like you've ever really sold me anything. You've always invited me into what you're building
Right.
or what you're doing. Like this is exactly what you should be talking about on stages and writing books about and doing workshops on." So the confidence that I had to take from others to go and write the book and share vulnerable stories and some of the hard ways of learning these lessons and the mistakes and the shame and the guilt of things I've done to survive and get through college and do all this stuff. And we're talking, 20 years ago,
Right.
but I knew that when I was doing things like that, it wasn't me. I didn't want to do certain things, but I learned a lot of lessons throughout that. So going way back to in my teens and college up until now, it just made sense. And, because of the vulnerabilities, because of the realness, the rawness in the book and the things that I shared, I was holding myself back from not doing it and not writing about it. And my business partner at Human Touch Publishing was like, "Jim, you cut out the most important lessons because of shame and guilt. That's what's gonna connect with people because
Mm.
we've all had those emotions, we've all had those feelings, we've all done things that we knew were wrong or we didn't wanna do or we had to survive, and it was the person that pulled you out and got you through that. Put those back in the book." And now as reviews are coming in and people are texting me and DMing me and emailing me and asking me to speak, and I just had someone ask me to write an article for Performance Magazine.
Mhm.
All these things are because of the depth and the truth that I did share in the book because of how relatable it is and those tough times we're navigating and the people are pulling us out of them. So it's been a journey, man, and I'm excited to continue to get it in the hands of those who need it and want to learn the skills to connect deeper, and in hopes that people flip each page and do the connection reps in the
Right.
back,
Yeah,
you
exactly.
know?
Yeah. Yeah. I love something you just said too, because you just said, instead of being sold, you invite them in. I love the way that line. Talk a little bit more about how that operates, how you go about doing that.
Well, there was a period of time where it felt like I was selling something because I wasn't asking the right questions if someone actually needed what I had to offer. So like when I invite someone in, I'm like, "Hey, I know that you moved here a year ago and you're looking to meet more people. Come to this workshop. There's going to be great people there to meet. Would you be interested in connecting with people? And by the way, yes, there's a ticket price to it,
Right.
or yes, there's going to be some speakers, and I believe it's going to be valuable to you based on what you've shared with me. Where before it would be like, hey, I'm having an event, buy a ticket,
Yeah.
right? So it didn't feel like an invitation. And then also building relationships and listening to what people are saying and actually reading their social media posts rather than scrolling by them, it allows me to not invite people that I don't think something that I'm doing would benefit them. So now that I have the ethics behind an invitation,
Mhm.
it doesn't feel like selling. And then the other thing is not getting frustrated if someone doesn't want to come or isn't around or doesn't, have the time or the energy. I'm okay with that because I don't need to sell you into something that you're not going to benefit from. You don't have the energy to show up fully, things like that.
Yeah.
So, um, that has been a massive change for me. And I didn't do it right in the beginning. Right. And also, building relationships with people opens up the opportunity for invitation rather than just hammering them with a new product or can you get me on a stage or what company can I help and speak to or do a workshop or do you want to write a book, right? It's actively building a relationship and listening to say, "Hey, you told me a year ago you wanted to write a book. Well, I own a publishing company where we help writers develop their story and their frameworks and do the editing and the book cover and publish it under a publisher so it's not self-published. Would you be interested in having a conversation if you have the time and energy to put the effort needed into getting your
Yeah.
book out there?" That's an invitation, not, "Hey, do you want to write a book? Here's a proposal."
Right.
But it starts with building that
Mm.
relationship, or it's just brokering a question. "Hey, I've got an event with a bunch of authors. Maybe this is something you're interested in. Maybe it will provoke you to say, 'Hey, I really want to write a book.' Then we can talk.
Yeah.
But come to the event, meet people, and hang out, and get the benefit of the event, not so much having to write a book to come to the event." Right? I think
Right.
events open the mind, and it's up
Mm.
to you to decide what to do with the material, to make an investment into something you need. Is it just something you want? Maybe now's not the right time.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think it's so important that you talk about relationships because I mean, I look at it having pastored for 30 years and retired. We're people who are built, we're created to have relationships. I mean, I've looked deeply into that. I mean, not to get spiritual, but God is a triune God, Father, Son, Holy Spirit develops. He is in a relationship. We are made in the image of God. We are to be related. We are to relate to one another. And that to me is one of the things I love about this book is just continues to emphasize that. Um, let's talk a little bit though about the issue of because now we're bombarded with social media and AI. What are the concerns that you see, some of the red flags you see, and then how do we overcome those red flags?
So everything is speed, right? AI has allowed us to speed up a lot of our processes. It's allowed us to, put out more content. It's allowed us to take a non-matured thought and to mature it
Mhm.
and to put it out in the world. And I love AI. I'm not saying, don't use it. I'm not saying I don't use it. But my biggest concern around it is that we are outsourcing our own genius to something that doesn't have a heart or a soul. So when I think about how to impact others and why I create content to motivate, to inspire, to bring value, is AI giving me the most valuable thing that I can put forth in that moment with that piece of content, with that marketing, with that new offer, with whatever I'm doing with it, right? And a lot of times it may sound good, but there's not much depth behind it. And then I think back and I go, okay, this sounds really good, but is this actually what the goal of this piece of content is? Is this actually the goal of what I'm trying to do and how I'm trying to impact people? And a lot of times, AI is not actually giving me the depth of what I want to put out or how I want to help people. I think AI is great to organize your stuff, to provide outlines, recaps, manage your calendar, look
Mhm.
for efficiencies, crunch numbers. I just put bank statements in to analyze, okay, what's the trajectory of revenue coming into my business compared to the expenses? And it gave me this calculation and a spreadsheet, and it was great, right?
Right. Yeah.
But that's me utilizing it to understand numbers, not people.
Mhm.
And when we go on social media, instead of putting something out there that's not valuable but might stop the scroll, how can I put out value? Well, a lot of the stories, a lot of the emotion, a lot of where I learn the lesson from is what is relatable to the person reading it. But if I ask AI for the best version of this, it's going to cut out some of the most important pieces, some of the most important emotion, some of the storytelling optics that will attract people in to actually read it and relate back to it. The other piece is using social media, using email, using DMs, however you communicate on these platforms. We're automating things because it's faster rather than maybe taking 15, 20 extra seconds to look at someone's profile and to send a message to them that's meaningful. The other piece is it can only do it in text, not voice. And sending a voice memo through DM or a voice memo through text message transfers your energy, transfers your excitement, makes it real. Because I think in your LinkedIn inbox and my inbox, it's a bunch of canned automated messages.
Yeah.
Well, what if you got a voice memo
Yeah.
and they're like, "Hey, Rob, what's happening, brother? How you doing today, man? I just saw you posted about your podcast and you had this guest on and they were great. And I just love what you're doing, your emotion. You were a pastor previously and your impact, right? Like you're going to perk up a little bit. You're going to feel good about that. You're going to feel that other person's energy. And we're not utilizing those tools that are on the tech platforms because it's not as easy and it's not as fast. So I think we can use social media. I think we can use email. We can use these platforms. But if we just slow down a little bit, we're going to increase and accelerate the impact that we can have when we're looking to connect with folks.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, I've done it before with past clients. I send them a video singing happy birthday on their birthdays. And it's amazing how the response works. They feel that, like you're saying, Jim, they feel that energy. They feel emotions. They see the smile on the face and pick up on that. It's amazing.
And it's effort.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Like I know that you put an effort into that rather than writing a canned message from ChatGPT and saying, send this to 180 people that I'm connected with on Instagram, right? Like that effort is actually showing you care. It's showing that you've observed maybe their previous content, that maybe you've listened to a previous conversation and you're following up, right? Like we're outsourcing that and it's depleting connection and making us feel isolated and alone. And that's my biggest concern with AI. I mean, a couple years ago, loneliness has been categorized as an epidemic.
I remember reading that and underlining that in your book, thinking, wow.
And it's now known as the silent killer. So like, think about it when, someone may turn 90 years old, right? And maybe they're not as mobile. Maybe they don't have funds to support what they were doing previously. And they wake up, they make breakfast, and they watch TV all day, right? Or maybe, they do one crossword puzzle, right? And they're lonely. And then you see their health start to immediately deplete. And then all of a sudden they're gone from this earth. Then you look at like my wife's grandmother, right? She goes to bingo. She plays Wordle with all her, family members. She goes to painting classes. She's so active and she's in great health for her age. Then you look at the studies in Italy. They drink wine, they eat pasta, they eat carbs, right?
They walk everywhere.
But they walk everywhere, 4 generations in a home.
Yeah.
And I talk about that in the book because when I was looking at these blue zones of people who live longer, and I looked at all these studies, it wasn't the biohacking that we talk about in the US. Yeah. The architecture of the home where maybe they're a grandmother and their daughter they're cooking dinner with. And then, their spouse comes in the home and they engage in a conversation with their spouse. And then the grandkids, she's helping with homework, right? Then they all sit down and engage in conversation over dinner. Right. That's one day with 4 different generations of interaction, which keeps the mind strong, even though maybe what they're putting in their body isn't, creatine and methylene blue and all these things. But they're living to 96, 97.
Yeah.
So I believe connection is longevity. I
Mhm.
believe connection is happiness. And my whole goal of writing the book and doing the work that I do and speaking to companies and getting on stages is so we can stay connected, so we can stay happy.
Yeah, absolutely. So if someone is today listening, people who listen to podcasts, what would be something that you would give one takeaway, or maybe let's say 3 takeaways for someone who's listening today, they need to know?
The first one would be when you engage with someone, like 80% of people forget the person's name. And they do that because when you tell me your name's Rob, I'm thinking of a response to say to you of who I am or what I do. And the first step in making connection is knowing who you're talking to. So the first thing I would say is in order to actively listen, you need to silence the mind.
Mm,
Then you can loop their name back to them. So if you say, "Hey, my name's Rob and I do this and I do that," I'm listening. Okay, Rob. Then when I respond, I say, "That's great, Rob." I loop back what your name is to you, which helps with memory.
mhm,
I think we make that mistake so often, and then we're like, "Oh, what was that guy's name? I wanted to follow up with him and he even put his name in my cell phone, but now I don't even know what to search." Right?
yeah,
I've got
yeah,
2,000 contacts in this thing. Like,
exactly.
or I want to link in with them, or I want to DM them on Instagram, whatever platform. Like, use the platforms for connection. I'm not saying not to. So that would be the first thing. And the reason why I say that is because I see it so many times. And I'm guilty of it too. I'm not perfect, right? If I meet someone, I'm like, oh, how can I impress them? What can I say? I've got to remind myself to silence my
Mhm,
mind. The second thing that I would share is whenever you're engaging in a conversation with someone, loop back what they just told you and paraphrase it. So if you're like, hey, I do this podcast, Discovering 615, it's amazing. I've been doing it for a couple of years. I just had this country music artist on and this business owner, right?
right.
Then I might say, oh, you've been doing Discovering 615 for 2 years now, and you just had this business owner on? Is that right? And you're like, yeah, it
Yeah.
was a great episode, right? And then you might start telling me about the episode. What I did was I just told you right back to you that I was listening to you.
Mhm,
I'm making you feel heard. I'm making you feel seen. I'm making you feel that what you just said was valuable enough for me to take it in and be able to regurgitate it back to you. So I believe that looping that back, paraphrasing it, following up with a question continues to put you in a position for you to keep talking.
mm,
So I haven't even told you what I do yet or who I am, but you're excited because I'm engaging in a conversation. And the more that I get you to talk, the more I get to learn about you. I get to understand and make a decision if I align with you,
yeah,
right? I teach connection, but part of that is to understand, do I want to connect with you? Right?
right.
If you told me all about all the money you made and you sold this company and you had, this alcohol and this weed company and this cigarette
Yeah,
company and this platform for teenagers to be glued to a social media, right?
right.
I probably would go, great. Now I know in the first 5 minutes that I don't align with you.
Mm,
And I would disengage and go try to meet someone else at an event or, spend my time and energy wisely.
right.
So part of this work is to understand alignment, to know, do I want to connect deeper? Because what if I said, oh, let's have coffee? Now I'm spending another hour with you and then maybe finding out that we don't align. Well, I just spent 15 minutes talking to you. I just spent an hour having coffee next week with you. And then I realized that you're into all these things that I might not be.
Right.
And it's not bad, to each his own, right? I do believe in coexistence, but I do believe in protecting my energy and my
Yeah,
time so I can show up at the highest level for the people that I do align and connect with.
exactly, exactly. I love what you said there about protecting your energy and your time, because I mean, I've dealt with people who drain your energy and you're exhausted and you spent an hour and a half talking to them, and I mean, I've had clients do that to me.
Yeah.
And it's like, ooh, I've had my wife Elizabeth ride with me, and we talked for a client for an hour and a half, and finally she's like, "Can you get on?" I'm like, "Okay, we got it off." Hung up. She goes, "Oh my gosh, Rob."
Yeah. Yeah. And the other thing too is like you're talking about clients who are paying you.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine the people that there isn't a monetary exchange, right? So how much
Yeah.
energy are you really losing? How much time are you really
Yeah.
losing, right? The third thing that I would say is I believe the most important piece of human connection is human integrity.
Yes.
So a
Talk
lot
about
of
that.
people want to build relationships and they do things like, "Hey, let's grab coffee next week," and they don't follow up. They say things like, "Hey, I'm going to invite you on my podcast," and they get busy and they forget. Well, now you're fracturing the integrity you have related to your character.
Right.
No one's perfect. It's not what I'm saying. I make mistakes. I do these things. Probably do these things. Everybody listening probably does these things. But if you really want to build deep human connection, how can you improve and have intentional integrity?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So if you make a commitment, what's the next step you need to do to fulfill that commitment? Is that setting a reminder on your calendar that you're going to reach out to Rob and have him on your podcast next week? Is that something where you realize now that you're focusing on integrity, you're lacking it in other areas of your personal life or other commitments? Can you repair those little fractures of integrity so you're building this repetition of intentional integrity?
Right.
So when you are building relationships, you're not doing so much work to stay and have integrity. So I think integrity, I use this analogy and I use it in the book. When there's a fork in the road and we know what's right, we tend to choose right. That's just the first piece of integrity, right? You know left from right, right from wrong. So we make this decision and we think we're good. But then we're driving down the road and the road markers in between lanes, we start to drift out of integrity into the other lane.
Mm-hmm.
And if you keep drifting, at what point are you actually holding the wheel?
Yeah.
So I talk about that in one of the chapters because I think it's a very easy visual of like, okay, I made the right decision. Now I'm driving down the right street, going down the right path, but now I'm drifting into the other lane and I'm not living in integrity. Well, how do you know those markers, those road markers defining the lanes, those are compromises to your integrity.
Right.
And are you aware of the compromises? Hey, I'll go to the gym tomorrow. And then you don't go. Well, now you're drifting past that compromise, right?
Yeah.
And that's a personal story. But what about you tell someone on your team that you need this report on Friday and you have a meeting that afternoon, you really need the report, and that person stays up all night and they do the report and they vet it, and you're the big boss and they need to make sure it's perfect, and you submit it, and then you see them on Monday. You say, "Hey, how was that report?" And they're like, "Oh, I didn't even open the email." Well, now you just drifted as the leader of your company into that lane that doesn't hold integrity, and that marker in the lanes is the compromise you made. Well, it's not that big of a deal. I needed the report anyway. But you're saying on the conference room and in your training manuals that integrity is a core value of your company.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you're compromising that, and that bleeds down to the managers, to the supervisors, to the frontline associates.
Well, I love the fact that you start out like personal integrity, because I think, how does that? I mean, because it seems to me that if I'm supposed to be in the gym today, I'm just don't feel like it. How does that then affect us? Not just at the personal level, cheating ourselves in one sense, but then every other relationship.
I think that your personal integrity and your business integrity are in line with each other, right? You go to Walmart, you forget to scan the water, the 24-pack you put at the bottom of the cart, right? In Nashville, we call it what, a buggy?
Yeah.
That was a new term when I moved here. I'm like, a buggy? Like the car? They're like, no, the cart at Piggly Wiggly. I'm like, Piggly Wiggly? But, and you know that you didn't pay for it, do you go back and pay for it? That little compromise of integrity is going to show up down the road, right? Honey, I'll be home at 6 o'clock for dinner with the kids. And I had to work late. You come home at 7:30.
Yeah.
Well, there's not a direct correlation back to that water at Walmart, but it was okay to do that then. Is it okay to do this now? And then, a friend of mine is like, I don't understand why she wants to divorce me. I'm like, dude, how many times did you say you're going to be home for dinner and come home at 10 p.m.?
Yeah.
That didn't start in the home. It started with a sequence of events where you compromised your integrity leading up to that and you got away with it. Now this integrity with your wife is catching up to you.
Yeah.
And now you're talking divorce. And not to shame you or make you feel bad or guilty, but you need to understand and recognize that this wasn't something that just came out of the blue. This was consistent compromises in your integrity that may have caused a personal thing, but there's probably things in your business. There's probably things at work. There's probably little stupid things like forgetting to pay for your water and, compromising it.
When you compromise it, then trust becomes and loyalty come into question then.
Well, where does it stop?
Yeah. And where does it stop? Yeah, exactly.
And do you even know that it's happening because it was okay to do it so many other times leading up to this point that was not just a fracture, but a break in something that's extremely important to you, like a marriage, like a relationship. So when I think about relationships and human connection, that's why I say it's such an important piece, because if you, Rob, say, hey, I'm going to have you on the podcast, and then you don't have me on the podcast and you've got an excuse and this happens, am I going to want to continue a relationship with you? And then all of a sudden, maybe I throw a conference and you're like, I want to speak at it. I've got this message. I really want to impact people. I'm not going to have you on my stage.
Right.
And it could be something as small or as big as what I described previously, but like that will terminate the connection you have. So someone asked me, how do I define luck? Was it luck that your book got put on a billboard? And I said, my definition of luck is the consistent components and decisions that I made leading up to the opportunity that most people would call luck. My book didn't go on a billboard because I paid for it. My book didn't go on a billboard because, I made a relationship the week before. My book went on a billboard because I made a relationship with someone who I helped in a time of need, who made an introduction to someone else who thought we would connect deeply.
Right.
We did. I provided value to that person. I had them on my podcast. We had a very intimate, real, deep conversation. We liked each other, right? It was like, our conversation was unbelievable.
Yeah.
I'm so glad we met. In that conversation, he said, yeah, I really enjoyed putting a friend's book up on a billboard in Times Square. And I said, dude, how do I pay? Like, I'll pay for that. And he's like, why would you pay for it?
Yeah.
You just provided value to me. I really like you. And then 3 weeks later, I'm taking a bus to New York City and looking at my own face on a billboard with hundreds of people walking around and doing the QR code. It's like, whoa, that's not luck. That was connection early on that grew through providing value, which in turn he provided value to me at a later time. And I didn't build the relationship to get on the billboard. I didn't even know he did that.
Yeah.
Right. And I wouldn't have met him if I didn't help out someone and coach them and help them through a tough time and advise them. They would have never made that connection to someone who thought that I would have a good relationship with, someone that we thought we were aligned. So I don't think luck is real. I think it's the consistent approach of how you show up and aligning with people to where an opportunity is going to present itself, maybe when you need it, maybe when it's unexpected.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there was a Puritan that one time said, let's see, duty is ours, events are the Lord's, which I love that quote. I mean, that's do what we need. It sounds like that's what you were doing, Jim. And
If you love on enough people, they will love on you at
yeah,
some point, and you never know when,
yeah,
and you can never count your chips before they're there, and you don't do it for manipulation. And I write about that in the book. I had a business coach who taught me all these connection things, but it was out of manipulation
yeah,
to get what I wanted
right.
solely for me and only me. And some of those strategies are great, but they were being done for the wrong reason.
Yeah,
I spent a lot of money with that business coach and had to walk away from a relationship that could have gotten me things in the future, but I wasn't aligned with the approach. So I did walk away, and I did realize in that moment, I don't ever want to be like that.
right.
And I can still teach some components, but there has to be ethics behind it
Mhm.
rather than manipulation. I don't do this to get that, right? I do this because I believe it's the right thing to do. And I want to help people and I want to impact others. I want to help them navigate through searching for their dreams and breaking barriers that come up. And if somehow, some way I get loved on, then that's like
Yeah,
the cherry on top,
yeah.
you know?
Talk about that too for a minute, the manipulation, because I mean, we live in a society that is so me centered, even in, unfortunately, in even in leadership. I'm not talking about, political leadership or whatever. We can talk in business leadership, but it's how do we go about, besides people reading your book, how do we go about changing that aspect of things and encouraging people build genuine relationships? I mean, we've touched on that with your three already that we talked about. Meet somebody, say hello, Jim Morris. It's nice to meet you, and this is what you do, and those type of things. But then, how do we take it from there, especially in a society that's so, again, the social media? It's, you see, we're guilty of it, the selfies and all this stuff.
Well, I think the biggest piece is, are you loving are you loving on people and connecting with them to get something? Or are you doing it because you believe it's the highest use of your time and energy and you want to be someone that helps others and impacts others? And I think back of, there was a gentleman who had just he just bought a building, it flooded.
Mm,
He was renovating it. He was posting all these videos about all this stuff he was doing to it. I know that it was all his money, right? And I sent him a message and I said, "Hey man, I see you. I see what you're doing. Just want to shout you out. I'm sorry that happened with the flooding, and like, keep putting in work. I know this is a dream of yours. Like, just keep going." And I sent that to motivate him, to let him know that, I see you, dude. I see what you're doing. And he just liked the message. And my first reaction, I was boiled up. I'm like, that's it? Like, you just like the message? Like, I wrote this very personal, loving, long message, right? And in that moment, I realized that if I was writing that message for his response, then I was being manipulative.
mm,
I'm not writing the message for his response. I'm writing the message because I believe it was the right thing to do,
right.
to love on someone. And at that moment, I started to realize I do things because I believe it's the right thing to do, not for the response, not for the reaction, not for the screenshot of the text, not for the shout out, right? And I think if you generally do something because you believe it's right, you believe it's beneficial, you believe it's going to be positively impactful, then that's all that you can do. And what happens after that, whether it does or it doesn't, with what you want or wish, that's okay. I think if you can remove the outcome from doing good, and the reason why is to get something, you're not going to be someone who does things in a manipulative approach or give to get. Give because it's the right thing to do in the right
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah, I love in your book where you talk about too, and I did this the other day with, you find 5 guys to write. Now it's funny because so I texted 3 of my 5 so far. Still working on that group. But the crazy thing is, a buddy of mine, he and I haven't talked in probably, we saw each other at church maybe a month ago because of travels and stuff like that. And I just reached out to him and said, "Hey, Paul, I've been thinking about you. How are you doing? How's life? How's business? How's the family?" And I got a text back from him saying, "Right now, work sucks." I said, "Okay. Well, let me pray for you about that. Hey, let's get together and talk sometime."
Let's go.
And it's like, "Thank you." And I'm like, "Yeah, okay, this," and this is, you and I are both, I think, very relationship oriented. I think you and I both get our energy from being around people.
Yep.
It's, and I think it's just continuing to build those relationships, and I love that exercise there. It's like, okay, let's add some more people to that.
And it's took you 30 seconds to send that.
Yeah.
And you just never know what someone's holding, right?
Yeah.
We've got social media, we got the highlight reels, we get all the best moments of anybody. But is that every moment? Is there not a reality? Life's not perfect.
No.
There's only one person that was perfect,
That's right.
and it ain't me or you.
That's right.
Right? So
Right.
like you think about those things and it's like, we know the reality that life is like this. There's peaks, there's valleys, there's ups, there's downs. So just by saying, "Hey, I'm thinking about you. How are things?" Someone could be going through something and that text message could change their energy. They could feel loved. You could give them hope. You could motivate them. You could give them a resource. And here's the best part about it. I talk about this in the book, the Triple H method. You don't have to help them. You just have to allow them to be heard.
Mm-hmm.
My wife taught me that. She's like, "Jim,
Oh my gosh.
stop trying to fix everything.
We like to fix things, don't we? My wife's the same way. Stop fixing things.
I just want you to listen to me
My wife says the same thing, Jim.
and I just want to share what I'm going through."
We need to let our wives get together to yeah.
Seriously. When she said that, it broke me because I'm like,
Mm.
I think I'm doing good and I'm doing harm. She doesn't want a solution. She doesn't want a strategy. She doesn't want a podcast to listen to.
Right.
She just wants to tell me how she feels.
Yeah.
Right. So when I
Yeah.
go through the Triple H method, it's like, do you need to be helped right now? Which I divert to, and most men and women, mostly men, want to always help, want to always fix.
Yeah.
Do you need to be heard? Do I just need to be a sounding board for you to get it off your chest? Or do you need to be hugged? Are you going through something so emotional? You
I
just
love
need
that.
comfort and warmth. And a hug
Yeah.
can be physical, and it doesn't have to be. You can love on someone virtually. You can love on someone with a voice memo. You
Yeah.
can make them feel comforted in a struggle.
Yeah.
So are you, and I was not doing this ever. I was resorting to help and fix.
Mm-hmm.
And now I process through. And there's stuff I share in the book that talks about this. Like there's things you can say, there's ways to frame it. If you don't know if someone wants one of those 3, you can ask in a light way. Someone said to me, "Well, not everybody's a hugger." I did a workshop on this. Not everybody's a hugger. I said, "Then why don't you just ask them if they need a hug?"
Yeah.
I've asked so many people that, and one person said, "No, I don't want a hug." And I said, "Cool. Do you just want to be heard? Keep telling me I'm here. Open arms.
Yeah.
We don't have to touch. We don't have to hug. Like, let's not get weird."
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
But if you don't know, don't go in for a big hug. Ask, like, "Can I give you a hug?" You know how many people have said to me, "Can I give you a hug?" And they've hugged me and I've like broke out crying because I just needed comfort in that moment.
Right.
I just needed to feel that someone gave a crap about me.
Exactly.
So there's these methods that I've learned from my real life
Mm.
experiences of messing it up and then figuring it out and then doing research, practicing it in real time and realizing, okay, this is working really well for me. Now I wanted to share it. That's why I wrote the book.
Great. Well, where can people find a copy of the book, and where can people get in contact with you, Jim?
Yeah. So if you go to Amazon, Connect or Die, How to Survive AI, Just search that. It will pop right up. If you want to get in contact with me, realjimmorris.com. It will show you what I'm up to, what I'm doing, where I'm speaking, what events I'm having, and social media, Real Jim Morris on Instagram. You can find me on LinkedIn. But reach out to me. Let's connect. I want to hear what you got going on and what you're building and what your dreams are. Where are you going? How are you navigating them? I'm here to help.
Folks, make sure you check out and go get a copy of Jim's book. And hey, like Jim said, if you need to reach out to Jim. I know the guy. He's a good buddy of mine. He's there for you. He wants to connect. Jim, thanks for coming on Discovering 615, man. Appreciate you.
Thank you for having me, man.
You're welcome. And folks, if there's someone who you know that needs to hear this episode, make a shout out. And don't forget to follow, like, and subscribe wherever you listen or watch. Until then, find your place, find your people. 615. God bless.